Hello everyone and welcome back to Crypto Atlas. In today's episode we will be talking about Bitcoin, Orchid, Ethereum, as well as XRP, and I'm going to be mostly focusing on the charts today. Hopefully we can start to pivot just a little bit the kind of content that we're doing here and actually give you guys more of a focus on the technicals, but I will give you guys still a little bit of news. So if you guys are new to the channel, feel free to subscribe if you want to come back for more information. For those of you guys that are returning, it is really good to see you guys again. Let's see if we can get this video to 50 likes and let's get right into the actual information. So first off, if you guys haven't heard this already, this is some really good news. Stone Ridge reveals $115 million Bitcoin investment as part of $1 billion spinoff. This is important because this is another really big institution that's now coming into play of actually being a part of the whole Bitcoin ecosystem. So more institutions, the smart money, a lot of people are going to be following that, and this is a really important based article revolving around that. So who else is going to join before the end of the year? Do you guys have any theories? Let us know in the comments down below. Next thing we're going to take a look at over here is what's going on with the stock market so far today. It is 9:41 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and that means it is almost 1 o'clock over on the East Coast. And the S&P 500, which a lot of people are showing a correlation with, is not necessarily doing that great. This is down 0.7%, and we are seeing a bit of a hit on the market for Bitcoin. In fact, it's actually affecting a lot of the market itself. And let's look at some of the other individuals here, such as the Dow Jones. The Dow Jones down 0.59%. Let's take a look at NASDAQ. NASDAQ is down over 1%. Something like Tesla's stock. Well, Tesla's a crazy stonk, right? That thing's actually up another 3% almost. I wouldn't be surprised if this starts to have a major crash on the way down for the later part of today. And then you got something like Apple stock. Apple stock is also down on the 0.62%. So out of all the major ones that I'm keeping an eye on, it looks like Tesla's the only one that's really kind of holding its ground. Maybe they had some big news that came out, but the main focus today, of course, is going to be on the cryptocurrencies. I just wanted to see what's going on generally in the cryptocurrency space. I got a hair that's like dangling right in front of my face there. Sorry about that. And yeah, so now let's go ahead and take a look at the charts here. Let's focus with the CME futures gap because this is really important because we're seeing a downward spiral with Bitcoin's price right now. So the CME futures gap, you can see there's actually a gap that has occurred here from over the weekend, and it takes place between the price ranges of $11,200 and $210 and $11,270. So if we come all the way down to $11,210, then the good news is that the gap has been filled. It's not a requirement for the continuation price of Bitcoin, but a lot of people say it's a psychological element, and it's because a lot of people end up talking about it and stuff, so it is what it is with that. And so yeah, so just keep an eye out if it does drop down further. It is at $11,354. Let's actually take a look now on the charts for Bitcoin. And a couple key things I just wanted to, on the XRP, we'll talk about that. So a couple key things I want to talk about for the Bitcoin side. Let's take a look at the daily first, and then we'll go into a little bit of a micro position. And looking at it on the daily here, you can see that we have this big ascending channel, right? And we're still filling within that space, but there's a lot of room for this to be able to drop. If this drops all the way further down on a daily position, going even below the 21 EMA, which really wouldn't be that great of news, obviously, but it could go all the way down to like $10,700 here, theoretically on like the daily. But this massive red candle would probably scare quite a few people. The fact that we're still hundreds of dollars above the $10,000 range shows a good strong level of support for $10,000 before it has a further continuation up. Realistically, I think it's more probable that it might go in to fill that CME futures gap and then have a continuation back up. So on the daily, yes, it's having a retracement back down. We have a previous day that closed out yesterday in the red. We want to see more greens have a continuation up, and obviously want to break through this $12,000 level and then try and go back to the previous year of $14,000. And then of course we want to look at $20,000 on up. So that's that on the daily. Let's take a look at it on the 4 hourly right here. 4 hourly, there's something that I noticed that I thought was pretty interesting. we had these big spikes in price gains. Although it could technically happen in a big price drop as well, it's essentially happening on this 12-hour base cycle. So we have one instance here, then a day and 12 hours later, so it's still factoring in a 12-hour cycle. We had another big push up, and that was at 1700 on the UTC clock. Then the next push over was at 5 on the UTC clock. The first one, let's go back to that. That was 5 on the UTC clock. So 5, then 17, then 5. We didn't have it on the next 5, or sorry, the next 17. Then keeping an eye on it, trying to see its position here. Hypothetically, if it was to have a further carry out on the next 17, we might see it on October 14th, which is today, later on at the daily close. Is that going to happen? Not sure. Is it potential? Looking at the previous trends, it is a potential. So since it didn't happen at this point in time right here, didn't happen. Oh, we did see a bit of a red spike. Actually, I missed this one. Should have labeled one right there too, because I guess that's another. Well, yeah, actually that is a 12-hour cycle. It's not necessarily on a day and a half or 2 day and a half kind of thing, but that was a 12-hour cycle right there, and we did see a big price drop. So there's something that seems like it's going on. I don't know why, but every 12 hours. And so not every 12 hours, but every 12-hour cycle. You get my point. So day and a half, 2.5 days, 2 days, and then potentially are we going to see it on another 12-hour candle here later on today. This was a big red candle. We had previously three green candles. So could this mean another further drop down? Is there some sell-off that's going on? We saw that some of the early Satoshi Nakamoto era Bitcoin wallets are starting to make some moves around. So I am really curious what's going to be happening with that. And also looking at the 4-hour though, we got this symmetrical triangle that's been formed right here. And so a breaking point really is going to come right around that 5 o'clock point right here, which is also another 12-hour cycle. So really want to try and keep an eye on, I would say primarily for around 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time today, and then that's the 1700 UTC, and the next one's going to be at the 5 a.m. or 5 UTC. So that's for Bitcoin. Taking a look over at Orchid and what's going on with it. It has had a further continuation down, as its history has just been kind of showing. Even when we move the position of this top line of resistance and it kind of becomes more of a broadening wedge, it's still a descending wedge, but it just starts to broaden up a little bit, right? What ends up happening is that when it gets above, it just has a retracement back down, and then the next day it has a further retracement down, further retracement down. So it's progressively been moving its way downwards ever since this big move all the way back over here on August 16th. So a lot of people, myself included, because I'm personally invested in this, which by the way, guys, I'm not a financial advisor, just quick little side insert there again. Take this everything with a grain of salt. And anyways, so, you know, just you gotta always plug those kinds of things in. So taking a look at this, I would love for this to go up, obviously, because I've invested into it. But look at this as an opportunity to potentially buy more. The project's got a lot of good prospects in the future for it. Whether you should buy or sell right now, that's why we're taking a look at the actual charts. And looking at it on the Fibonacci retracement, it's going back down, looking like it's nearing the bottom for the 0.382 on the Fibonacci retracement. And if it breaks below this, the next major drop zone, it's a pretty big gap. We're looking at 0.236 on the Fibonacci retracement. So that's a pretty big gap that's going to take place right there. You're looking at around 24 cents, push all the way down to 20 cents. Another 4 or 5 cent drop. It's now on more exchanges, so I don't know if that's really possible, but if we see a big Bitcoin dump that takes place, it's going to affect a lot of the markets, and this is one of those that it's more than likely going to pull down with it. And you can see it's still having some further pull down taking place over the course of the day. Good news is I still have my Orchid, but bad news is I still have my Orchid. So that's one way to look at it, right? And now let's go take a look at it on the 4-hourly. Sorry about that. And so looking at this, it has a further drop down below the level of resistance that's taking place. It had broken out of this triangle based pattern and now has formed a new position. So taking a look at it like this, you can see we're actually forming now another descending wedge pattern, which even though the price keeps going down, it's forming patterns that are actually bullish. So we might have another breakout here, taking this from the high position down to the low there. If it decides that it wants to reverse, unless it continues broadening this position down here, but if it decides that it wants to start reversing on the 4 hourly, I am so sorry about that noise in the background. I'm not sure what that is, guys. My apologies. And take a look at the top here, we could be pushing back towards around a 30-cent range, which would be absolutely amazing. However, the fact is that during its current position, it is tapping on that bottom level of support, and there's a good chance that it could have a further drop down. And I would really try and keep an eye out on this bottom level right here at 23.5 cents, so 0.235. That's going to be a major level of it trying to combat. If it pushes down below that, then we're really not looking good at that point in time, because that's the lowest point that we've seen so far in history. Looking over at Ethereum, just real briefly, look at this on the daily. You can actually see that the daily candle, we did have this ascending. Got a hair in my mouth, I can't get it out. Okay, I think I got it. All kinds of crazy stuff going on today, jeez. And so, yeah, that's my idea of crazy, by the way. So you have an ascending wedge pattern right here, and we have the candle on the daily with a massive drop that took place, pulling it outside. You can see this continuation pattern that I was showing, just based off of previous trend, if it had the potential of actually climbing up, which it has not shown right here. So we're gonna actually go ahead and delete that. That's saved right there. And as you guys can see, if it has this further drop down based on its position movement here, we might see a level that drops down to around 356, just based on the high position down to the level of support. That drop down would actually pull it on the daily below the 21 EMA as well, which would be a further significant indication of it being a bearish based pattern. So do keep an eye out for a low right around the $356 range. Hopefully it doesn't do that. Hopefully this is just one of those days and we start to have a recovery and it pulls back up, but that is something that I think everyone should keep an eye out for very, very significantly. On the 4 hourly chart here, we can see that it is having a further continuation down over this time period. We're going to look more at XRP, and we're seeing a lot of Ethereum movement going on with Bitcoin, obviously with a lot of the other cryptocurrencies. And so looking at XRP here for just another moment as well. Again, I'm trying to make these videos a little bit more specific and to the point, so let me know if you guys think this is too many cryptocurrencies to cover. I was thinking maybe I should do Bitcoin. Obviously, I like talking about Orchid and keeping you guys updated on that. I feel a lot of people are also interested in XRP, and you know, Ethereum is a big one, but sometimes there's some of these other cryptos that are out there, and I don't want it to be too many cryptos that I cover all in one day. So I'm wondering, you guys let me know how many cryptos you think is good for me to kind of focus on. Do you think I should keep it down to maybe 3? Do you think 4 is good and I kind of alternate between some of these? Like today I'm doing it with XRP, or do you think I should replace them? Anyways, let me know any opinions that you guys have in the comments down below. And looking at the XRP on the daily here, we actually have what looks to be on a more macro scale an inverse head and shoulders. I'm going to start with the bullish signs because there's actually a lot of signs that are suggesting more on the negative, but let's just focus on the positive first. So looking at this as an inverse head and shoulders pattern, you can actually see if we take the distance from the neckline down to the level of the head, and we had a breakout that was to occur, we could see it having to climb all the way back up to around a 30-cent range, testing actually a previous level that was right over here back on September 2nd. And that level was actually pretty close to what we saw on August 19th, and then some other instances in the past too. So that's a pretty key identifier area for if it decides to have a climb back up. And by doing so, just so you guys know, the amount of time that we saw kind of this push over for this shoulder pattern with that neckline, it took approximately 14 days. So as of the moment of it having actually touched the neckline again, and having a further continuation before it breaks through the level of the neckline. If we did say roughly another 14 days or so, that would put it potentially around October 20th. If it was of an equivalent value right here, you can see there was a pullback, but with pullbacks we do have retracements that go back up, and or not retracements because it's already a pullback, but you get my point. It reverses and goes the opposite direction. So hypothetically, maybe potentially October 20th for something like this. That is for the potential of it on the breakout. Now, the reality is that it's not actually looking very good. If we zoom in here more, based on the more relevant time that's been going on, you can see we have this ascending triangle pattern, and this is actually suggesting a downward spiral, which I had already had this red line, and you can see that it has broken down below that level of support. It's even broken down below the level of the 21 EMA, and potentially could have a further continuation down, reaching down to a level realistically around 23 cents. Again, I'm so sorry for that sound. If you guys can hear that in the background, I'm not sure what that is, and I'll try to find out. Don't expect that in future videos, hopefully. And yeah, so yeah, this dropped potentially all the way down to 23 cents there on the 4-hourly. We take a look at this again, and it still has that same format sensation of that ascending triangle based pattern. So you can see that on the macro and the micro, they both have a pretty significant correlation. So I would really try and keep an eye out for those two different levels. All right, that's gonna go ahead and do it for this video, guys. So let me know what you thought about today. If you, again, like the fact that I covered 4 different cryptocurrencies, do you like this kind of format where I give you just like 1 or 2 really key movement that took place inside the cryptocurrency news? And also, if you have any other suggestions and things like that. We're still evolving the channel, and I'm shaping it, and I want to have a really good format, something that you guys enjoy. So thank you guys so much. Again, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. If you guys haven't yet already, please make sure you click the bell notification so you actually know when we have new videos. I have been live streaming in the evenings as well. So if you guys keep an eye out on this channel, you could have a chance to either potentially catch me while I'm live, or keep an eye on the charts with what's going on with everything, all this craziness, right? We see the price is still having a further situation right now. It's recovered a little bit for Bitcoin at the moment. So yeah, just trying to keep an eye on everything. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you guys. Oh my gosh. I'll see you guys in the next episode.